do you think that a potential increase in hash rate will bring more developers to Ergo as it may be seen as more secure? Um, so I'll take a stab at this one, and of course, I'm sure Joe, has a very well thought out and going to be really well articulated answer to this as well. So let me kind of take a stab at this first. Um, so what you really need to understand is that yes, there will be an increase in hash rate as Ergo evolves, right? So more people are securing the network. There's going to be an increase in hash rate. There's going to be an increase in participants. Now, what you have to really remember is it's not proportionate, right? So there's always a curve at which it moves, right? So increase the hash rates and increase the hash rate, and then community or developer involvement follows. I don't think that just because the hash rate increases, we're going to get a big influx of developers. What I think will attract developers more is an increase in hash rate, which will make the network more secure, and the tooling, and the more and more tooling we put out there to complement what developers are looking for. And again, we have a lot of great tooling, but I think that the tooling itself is going to have a much bigger impact on attracting developers than just the increase in hash rate or the increase in security, which is also an amazing thing. But again, I think the tooling is a bigger sell for developers. And just personally, I know from doing feasibility studies and then basically technical feasibilities on blockchains and development environments. It's basically comes down to tooling, speed, and network size. But network size is basically, it's below tooling a lot of times for developers. So at least that's what I've seen. What is your take on this, Joe?
Sure. I think that mining has always been a good on-ramp for people to learn more about blockchains and development and smart contracts. Just because, that subset of users has an investment in, crypto as a whole. So I think that oftentimes when someone gets into mining, they kind of put their foot in the water, and then how far they swim just depends on the person. Now, one thing that we have to be conscientious of is that Ergo is UTXO based, and a lot of miners are going to be coming off the account model. So there is some differences that they have to start to grasp between those two models, right? The account and UTXO. And then, when we get into the kind of functional nature of Ergo script and you get into registers and how smart contracts are built, it is very different than what the average Solidity enthusiast is used to, right? And that's where, educational on-ramps and tooling comes into account. I know that we have DECO, which is starting a new semester soon, and that is a great resource, even for laymen, just to understand, okay, what are you putting your money into? How does it work? If you look into DECO, they do have a YouTube channel. They do have actual developers in the ecosystem that have onboarded and taught some people from scratch that actually have ended up building on Ergo, which is, I have to tip my hat to that. We also have an initiative that's coming out of DAppStep. Ilya is putting together videos in terms of building on Ergo, and we also have some SDKs out there coming from ErgoPad, coming from Nautilus. And so having those educational mechanisms are just going to be important. I would say it's my hope, and, I can hope with my fingers crossed, because I know there's a lot of people that just kind of mindlessly ape in this space. But I would hope that if somebody is really interested, they want to do their due diligence, learn a little bit, ultimately protect themselves, right? And as we have educational tools, I think that's the first step, just in terms of visualizing the differences and starting to pick that up. And then also, the tooling itself is going to be important. And that's been a continual development this year that's growing at a nice pace. But yeah, miners do have a tendency to tinker, right? That's kind of why they make good developers, is because, you're tinkering with your rigs, then you start learning about the chain and you start tinkering around, learning how things work. And a lot of the times that leads one to become more involved in understanding kind of the internal aspects of these systems.